Hey guys, this is North Star Ball. This will be Dane. We just actually had a locals here on Thursday night. I went 3-0 using Soul Striker. I really do believe that blue is in a pretty good spot next set. There's a couple issues with like red Broly and a couple other aggro decks, but generally it's going to be pretty strong. And so I just wanted to real quick cover what my deck did, as well as kind of some of the gameplay, game plan, lines of play, things like that, so people can actually adapt and learn from it. Honestly, we don't need to spend a whole lot of time, so let's just get right into it. Soul Striker, the reboot leader. This is the first time that they've done something so that they updated it so much. This is such an iconic leader in the actual set. When you swing, you draw or restand 1. You draw 2 when you have 4 or less life or a unison of 3 in play, which will definitely always try to go for the 3 energy one, but sometimes if your opponent's being too aggro, you'll have to do slower. On the backside, this is where the money is. Basically, you just get to draw a card on swing and switch to energy active mode. Anytime you get 2 extra energy like that per turn is going to be really powerful. Really just in any time where you can Obuni effectively for 2. You get it to ape every turn for free. These are the kind of advantages that accrue over the course of a game, especially once you get to turn 3, 4, 5, where you see more cards than your opponent and you're using less energy than your opponent. First piece, Baby kind of makes this deck. Back when we were using just the SS3 Gogeta or the Goku Black, it just kind of struggled with, it didn't give a hand size, the unison could die really easy, and it just wasn't doing enough. But this unison puts so much pressure on your opponent because 1, it's a +1 every single turn, and it's usually out turns 3, 4, and 5. Sometimes really late game if you just don't see the other one. And if your opponent doesn't put you down to 4, you get to make your leader this massive 30k double strike that you can just like prevent from countering if you wanted to like sideboard the Great Ape Baby or something. I don't play it in this build because I don't think it's super necessary, but just being able to go, oops, a 30 double is so powerful. Really good card, +2, really hard to deal with. Very, very strong. Next is SS4 Son Goku Protector of the Earth. I thought this card sucked. Like, actually, I thought this card was pretty trash. But the auto basically gives you the Golden Frieza skill, where you'll just get to prevent your opponent from really swinging into you without committing a bunch of cards to the board. And since you're going to be playing the Trunks counterplay, they have to establish basically 3 different battle cards to be able to swing at all. And then when the turns where you just know that you're going to baby hatch or you have Trunks to stall, then you can just -1 and draw 2 and bottom 1. Generally, you just want to go turn 3, and then turn 4, you use that to gain advantage, playing Obuni, drawing with Ape, etc. And then turn 5, you want to drop Goku. This is going to be a really weird ordering, but I honestly think this is the next card, because Goku buys you turn 5 to 6, and then usually you'll want to rely on the secret rare Baby Hatch, which we'll get to in a second, to turn 6. To turn 7, and then on turn 7 you want to play Android 17 when you have hopefully 1 or 2 apes in the drop, a bunch of cards on board from Obuni and Trunkses, and then you basically just can't lose. You drop this, you both shuffle in your hands. The real issue with this card is that in a best of 3 format, Jiren is a really powerful option from draft box 5, and blue is kind of a little bit lacking what that might be. So we'll have to kind of see how that goes, but honestly, just it's the best blue finisher that we have right now, so very, very powerful. 4 Trunks counterplay, because it's the best counterplay in the game somehow. The thing just doesn't get played. Use it to stall your opponent when you need to. Boop. 3 Trunks Heroic Prospect. I know that a bunch of people aren't going to really have access to this card right now, but it's getting easier. And this upcoming format, it's going to be really good. In the set 10 format, it wasn't that good. It wasn't super relevant. Like, it was good against Vegeks, but now with Dark Broly, Broly Swap, Gotenks, this card is so good, and you should be maining 3, maybe 4, and if not, the 4th should be in the sideboard. This card is basically like a mini topo for stuff that's bigger than their energy. You have to play this card. I'm sorry that it costs money. Speaking of costing money, you're playing a blue deck. Sorry. This is the highest value card in the entire game. The only time this card doesn't feel good is against green or like a weird red deck where they're running Vegeta exploiting weakness, I guess. But even when they Sensu Bean, you basically still just paid 4, or in this case 2, to play a bunch of 0-5K combos. Also lets you tap out safely, so you can ape and remote Serious Bomb freely. It's pretty strong. More money has to be spent. Sorry. Ape is really good. Draws you cards. It's kind of, honestly, blue is the only color where I feel like ape is super, super necessary. It's very good in green and yellow, but I think in blue you kind of need ape to keep the engine going, which kind of leads it in a really sticky situation in terms of deck cost. Tap 2, draw 2 if you were not aware. This card's broken. I was wrong.
But Dane, say it to everybody.
I was wrong.
If you
I thought this card was mediocre because it didn't win me the game. And I have since found out through thought process, critical thinking, and playtesting that this card does in fact win you the game very often. It buys you another turn as long as you make it to turn 3. Honestly, against a bunch of aggro decks, this should be your plan to win. You should try to dig for this and like play defensive and then just smack this down on 3 and try to double strike them for the game. It's honestly most of the way that I beat Red Rolly. So, card is really good. It's your secret rare. Don't play Gogeta. Sorry, not in this build. 2 Vegeta, mostly just like the occasional turn 1 play. It's really good against any matchup where they have to stall, or when a unison is really pesky. Or you can just like clear it and put your opponent behind. It's just a really powerful card. It could probably go to 3 or 4, but I just like it at 2. It'll probably go into the sideboard a lot based off of what matchups are there. And likewise, there will probably be 2 in the sideboard to make sure that you can get it off when you need to. 2 Secret Identity Mass Saiyan. Your drop area is basically only relevant for 2 cards in this deck. And this card just clears everything. It makes opponents' Obunis much less threatening. It will clear blockers and things that are just pesky and in your way. It'll take care of the new Gogeta 6-drop, Gotenk 6-drops. Good card is good. Please play this. This is close to the auto include on an Overwhelm in basically every deck.
Did you bring up Obuni?
I did bring up Obuni.
Okay.
Because it clears the tokens. Because those that aren't aware, it adds up to, so you can target all tokens and pick stuff that you don't necessarily need to. And then like clear like a Goku hit or the Obuni itself, maybe a little blocker if you're playing against Vegito. Just make sure that you use this card properly, especially because sparking honestly isn't easy in blue. So this is kind of a pair, so we can just go over it. 4 Zamasu super combo, 4 Goku hit. When this card is good, it's like seriously broken and your opponent can't touch you. But there are a lot of matchups right now that it's not super great in. Gotenks blows it up on play, so you have to spend energy and cards in hand to establish it, and then it just dies immediately. Broly Swap and Dark Broly are both bigger than 30, and those are attacks that you typically want to stop. So as the deck goes on, it might end up going to be that Vegeta super combo, the new bottom 1 draw 2. But at the very least, Zamasu's super combo is super broken. You can stop your opponent from drawing. It basically forces your opponent to play perfect all the time, which is a really tough task, especially if you ever decide to go to like a regional and you're on like that 5-6 round grind. Your opponent's going to start making mistakes, and the more opportunities that they have to make mistakes, the better Zamasu gets. Also arrives off of Goku Ape because it's yellow. 1 Kai. I had it at 2. Really started clunking a lot. It's really good when it's good. Specifically, I think it's great when you're just trying to deal with a unison, or like I said earlier, of using your secret rare and just throwing down one of these. Your opponent gets a little greedy. They go to 2, and then you go 40k double, and then make it 50 with the combo, and then whatever else is in your hand. Kai versus Champa, optional, but you have to be good. Champa gets around SS3 scramble, I guess. I just grabbed whatever was nearby. 4 Bean and 40 D Magic because we're playing blue and you should never play less. There's a couple times where you could argue this, but I would still just... The card is so good. It stops 15k swings like just brutally into your face. It just allows you to make extra plays on your turn when you didn't think you had any more. It's so good.
Why are you trying to sell Bean to everybody?
I don't know, man, because
Everybody
people
knows.
keep cutting it to
Everybody
3.
Ah, yeah, you're right.
And then D Magic just lets you tap out. 1, all too easy. Unfortunately, you have to kind of play a drop negate no matter what deck you're playing if you're not hyper aggro these days. Invoker is too powerful, and it's pretty relevant within the massive meta. It's getting less relevant each time because it takes a tough pilot and it's a pretty expensive deck with the secret rare. But Apex of Power is so strong, and your opponent can like deal with you so easily if you're just playing your 4D magics. You have to play this card. And then this is a really flex choice, but I'm playing 2 Remote Serious Bomb. This could be like Max Kamehameha or honestly just those 2 other Vegetas. But blue has always kind of lacked good removal. And in a deck where you can continuously restand energy, I think 1 energy removal is going to be really important. The big issue with Max Kamehameha in this case is, yeah, it's a negate, but if you don't sequence it properly, if you do it too early, then your opponent's just you're never gonna have the Overwhelm 6 for Mass Saiyan. And if you do it too late, then your opponent's not really playing stuff bigger than their energy, they're on par with their energy. So Remote Serious Bomb gives you a way around that. It allows you to target little stuff that's problematic. Kid Coup is a really good example. Crisis Crusher, if they're playing a slow deck. Just random things that are bothersome, this card is really good at dealing with. Soul Striker is sick. Blue is really fun. Make sure that whenever you're dealing with decks, that you really take into account what your lines of play are and what the actual matchups can be. This deck today beat Hachiyak, which was honestly, unfortunately, quite free. All I had to do was make it to turn 5, and then eventually I dropped Turning the Tide, and black doesn't really have great answers to Obuni. Then I played Dom right behind the camera with the new green Vegeta aggro. He was playing like the actual engine, and then the new 1-drop isn't really out, and that really made a big difference. Cards like Baby Hachiyak are broken in those kind of matchups, because if they just like can't attack you, they lose all of their advantage, and then you just smack them with a 40k. And then finally I played Gotenks. The deck kind of wasn't really complete, but as long as you're playing carefully, once you get to turn 5, that's all you have to do. This, I just cannot stress how good this is. Turn 5, buy yourself a turn, -2. Turn 6, buy yourself the turn. Turn 7, play Android Turning the Tide. You get a crit swing, you swing with your leader. You get to draw cards if you still have this for a -1, and then you have a 40k body to finish the game. It's like 5 damage that your opponent basically can't interact with unless they have a huge board themselves. So, keep playing games, guys. Set 11 is only going to be here for about a month, so really do make sure that you're going to your locals if you can. Please be safe about it, social distance, be definitely wearing a mask, and we'll see you next time.